In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I seek refuge in God from Satan, the accursed. All right, we had just the last few parts of the first main section of the 30th word left to cover. To really illuminate the truth we've been discussing, it feels like the right moment to share an allegorical account I wrote in my collection called Lemat. It's a sort of imaginary journey, written in a semi-poetic style. This story will help shed light on what we were just talking about, the nature of the I, the ego. It explores how prophecy sees it versus how philosophy sees it, and the two trees that grow from those perspectives, the heavenly tree of Tuba and the infernal tree of Zakum, with all their branches and fruits. This story will brighten the whole topic. So, this happened about 8 years before this treatise, the 30th word, was written. I was in Istanbul during the holy month of Ramadan. It was a pivotal time when the old Said, who was still engaged with the ways of philosophy, was on the verge of transforming into the new Said. While I was reflecting on the three paths mentioned at the end of Surah Al-Fatiha, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have earned your anger, nor of those who are astray. I had a vision, a kind of waking dream. The old Said and the new Said had different approaches. While the old Said was also seeking truth, it was a bit of a diseased path. But in the Bala period, the new Said turned directly to the truths of the Quran. He was still serving, of course, but the new Said became completely absorbed in the RİSALE-İ Nur, deriving truths directly from the Quran. It was during that transitional phase that I had this dreamlike vision while pondering those three paths. I saw myself in a vast desert. A dark, oppressive, suffocating layer of clouds covered the entire surface of the earth. There was no breeze, no light, no water of life, nothing. The darkness made me imagine that the whole place was teeming with monsters and menacing creatures. You can see a similar idea in the 23rd word. When you can't see, your mind fills in the blanks with horrors. A person can't just stand there in a situation like that. You have to try to escape. It occurred to me that on the other side of this world, there must be light, a breeze, and the water of life. You know how when one side of the earth is dark, the other is light. I felt I had to get there. I found myself being guided, involuntarily, into a tunnel-like cave that went deep into the earth. I traveled further and further underground. I saw that many others had taken this path before me, but they had all gotten stuck and suffocated along the way. I could see their footprints, and for a while, I could hear some of their voices, but then the sounds would just stop. My friend, who is following along with this imaginary journey, that ground represents nature and naturalist philosophy. The tunnel is the path that philosophers try to carve out with their own ideas to reach the truth. But on that path, they couldn't find the truth, they just drowned in it. The footprints I saw belonged to famous figures like Plato and Aristotle. Now, if you were to ask me, who are you to challenge these great minds? You're like a fly trying to interfere with the flight of eagles. I would say this: with the Quran as my eternal teacher, I don't feel obligated to give those eagles, who are just students of a misguided philosophy and a mind clouded by delusion, even the value of a fly's wing on the path to truth and spiritual knowledge. Sure, I may be far beneath them in status, but their teacher is 1,000 times lower than mine. By the grace of my teacher, the materialism that drowned them didn't even get my feet wet. Think of it this way: a humble private carrying the laws and orders of a great king can accomplish more than a great field marshal serving a petty chieftain. The voices I heard belong to geniuses like Ibn Sina, Avicenna, and Farabi. I'd see traces of Ibn Sina's ideas and principles here and there, and then they would just vanish completely. He couldn't go any further. He had drowned. Because he was a genius, he relied solely on his own intellect, and that ego led him astray. He didn't become a student of the Quran like us, so he could only get so far. Anyway, to satisfy your curiosity, I've shown you a corner of the reality behind this vision. Let's return to the journey. As I went on, I was given two things. One was like a light, an electric lamp, that cut through the darkness of that underground world of nature. It revealed what nature truly is. The other was a tool that could shatter massive boulders and mountain-sized rocks, clearing a path for me. When you try to explain everything through God's existence and truth, you run into the obstacle of nature. Many people can't get past it. But with the truths given from the Quran, what nature truly is becomes clear. You see that nature cannot be a partner to God, that it has no real power to affect anything. You see it for what it is, and that obstacle just shatters, allowing you to pass through to the other side. A voice told me, "This light and this tool have been given to you from the treasury of the Quran." I traveled like this for a long time until I finally came out on the other side. I found myself in a beautiful spring season under a cloudless sun. The air was refreshing, the water was sweet and life-giving, and the world was full of joy. Praise be to God, I said. When a person comes into this world, they see things, matter, causes, nature. But the human spirit is lofty. It feels an infinite helplessness and poverty, so it seeks a being of infinite power and mercy to come to its aid. When it looks around and sees only matter, the spirit feels trapped in that dark, suffocating place, airless, waterless, and without light. It wants to break free and reach the truth. And here, the Master succeeded in doing just that, smashing through the concept of nature to reach reality. But then I realized I wasn't in control of myself. Someone was testing me. I was suddenly back in that same vast desert, under the same oppressive clouds. This happens to the Master often. Before writing the Treatise for the Sick, for instance, he was afflicted with terrible illnesses. God has him experience the suffocating spiritual state of those who deny him, who worship causes and nature, so that he can see their condition and then demonstrate how the truths of the Quran bring relief and a way out. This time I was led down a different path. I wasn't going underground. Instead, I was to cross the entire surface of the earth to get to the other side. My journey was filled with wonders and strange things beyond description. But it was also full of hardship. The sea raged at me, storms threatened me, and everything presented an obstacle. But again, with a vehicle given to me from the Quran, I was able to overcome it all. I noticed that along this path, the landscape was littered with the corpses of other travelers. Only 1 in 1,000 ever made it to the end. It shows how most people get bogged down in causes and can't get past them to find God. In any case, I finally escaped the clouds, reached the other side of the world, and was met by the beautiful sun. I breathed in the refreshing air and said, "Praise be to God." I began to explore that paradise-like world. Human beings can find this paradise when they see past the veil of causes and find the causer of all causes. But again, someone wouldn't let me stay. I was brought back to that terrible desert a third time. This time, I saw things that had descended from above, like elevators, airplanes, or even baskets. They had come down close to the ground. Depending on your strength and ability, you could leap into one, and it would pull you upward. A person can only jump a few feet on their own. These baskets carry you the rest of the way to the heavens. Our own intellect can only take us so far. Our strength and ability are just for leaping into that basket, for grabbing onto the truths of the Quran and the RİSALE-İ Nur. Once you're in, the basket, the elevator, takes you the rest of the way up. Think about it practically. The treatise on nature is, say, 20 pages long. If we tried to figure out the immense truths in it with our own minds, we could live 100 years and never get there. But if we start reading it carefully, using the strength and ability we've been given, we can grasp those truths in a very short time. You can think of the whole collection this way. Even a new student of the RİSALE-İ Nur, after just a few years of careful study, can rise above many scholars and see truths that they couldn't grasp. So I leaped into one of them. In a single minute, it lifted me above the clouds. I found myself on beautiful green ornate mountains. The layer of clouds didn't even reach halfway up the mountainside. On this third path, you don't travel to the other side of the world to find the sun. You rise above your current position to see it. It's like how on Earth, if it's dark where you are, you can either go to the other side of the planet or you can just travel straight up and you'll see the sun. You can either analyze and deconstruct nature and causes to get to the truth, or you can go directly to the truth without getting bogged down in them. The Master has opened all three paths. Up there, the most pleasant breeze, the most delicious water, and the most lovely light were everywhere. When a person who was drowning in materialism, causes, and nature breaks free and reaches the truth, they enter a world adorned with the realities of faith. They escape the soulless, meaningless state of a material world. When you find God, you find a being who sees you, has compassion for you, and sends you what you need. Without God, you're surrounded by matter, causes, and nature, none of which know you, recognize you, or care about you. It's an unbearable state for the human spirit. People have tried to escape it through philosophy, but most have failed. Those who have looked under the light of the Quran and the divine books have found the truth with great ease. I then realized that these elevator-like luminous stations were everywhere. I had even seen them on my first two journeys on the other side of the world, but I hadn't understood what they were. Now I understood. They are the manifestations of the verses of the all-wise Quran. The first path, the one that gets stuck in nature, is the path of the naturalists, pointed to by nor of those who are astray. You felt how difficult it is to reach truth and light that way. The second path, of those who worship causes and believe that intermediaries have the power to create, is the path of the peripatetic philosophers who tried to find the ultimate reality and the necessary being with reason alone. This is the path of those who have earned your anger. The third path, indicated by the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, is the luminous highway of the people of the Quran, the people of the straight path. It is the shortest, easiest, safest, and most accessible path for everyone, a heavenly, merciful, and radiant way. As it says in the Lemat, "Friend, cast imagination aside, let reason take its place. The first two paths of the angered and the astray are full of dangers. It is always winter there, rarely autumn or spring. Only 1 in 100, like Plato or Socrates, escapes. The third path is easy, direct, and straight. The weak and the strong are equal on it. Everyone can take it. The best outcome is to be a martyr or a veteran of the faith. Divine guidance from the Quran is this third path. It grants us the straight way. Now, if you want to truly see and savor how every verse of the Quran, like a piercing star, scatters the darkness of disbelief with its miraculous light of guidance, do this. Imagine yourself in that pre-Islamic age of ignorance, in that desert of Bedouins. Everything is shrouded in the darkness of ignorance and heedlessness, wrapped in the veil of nature and rigid causality? In that moment, suddenly hear from the sublime tongue of the Quran verses like, "Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth exalts Allah, the Sovereign, the Pure, the Exalted in Might, the Wise." Watch how the beings of the universe, which seem dead or asleep, come to life in the minds of those who hear that word exalts. They awaken, stand up, and begin to praise God. And in the dark sky, the stars, which were just inanimate balls of fire, and the scattered creatures on the ground, when you hear the cry, "The seven heavens and the earth and all that is within them exalt him," in the eyes of the listener, the sky becomes a mouth, and every star a word of wisdom, a light of truth. The earth becomes a head, with the land and sea as two tongues, and every animal and plant a word of praise, revealing their true nature. You can't see the subtleties of this experience by looking back from our time. The light of the Quran has been shining for centuries, and its truths have become common knowledge. If you look at it from our modern context, which is illuminated by the sun of the Quran and all the other lights of Islam, or if you look at it superficially through the veil of familiarity, you won't be able to truly see and taste how each verse, like a sweet spring of Zamzam, dispelled a specific kind of darkness. So this concludes the section on the I. The Master explained how he shattered the rocks of materialism and cause worship with the light and tools given from the Quran. This makes the treatise on nature the perfect next text to read. It explains exactly what nature and causes are, showing they have no power to create or influence anything, and puts them in their proper place. Let's just read the very brief introduction to the treatise on nature to finish. Know this, O man. There are terrible phrases that people use which reek of godlessness, and believers sometimes use them without realizing it. We will explain three of the most important ones. They are words that can creep into one's creed and cause terrible damage. The first is, causes created it. The second is, it formed by itself. The third is, it is a requirement of nature. Nature made it happen. Now, since beings exist and cannot be denied, and since every being comes into existence with art and wisdom, and since they are not eternal, but are newly created before our very eyes, then, O atheist, you must explain the origin of any given being, say an animal, in one of four ways. 1. The causes of the universe created it. 2. It formed by itself. 3. It came into being through the influence of nature. 4. It was created by the power of an all-powerful, majestic one. Since reason dictates there are no other possibilities, if the first three paths are proven to be impossible, false, absurd, and untenable, then by necessity and with absolute certainty, the fourth path, the path of divine unity, is proven to be the one and only truth, without a shadow of a doubt. The treatise on nature does exactly this. With God's help, we will see these truths as we read it. Let's stop here. Glory be to you. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Verily, it is you, the all-knowing, the all-wise.